Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on the nonviolent restraint process within OneChart. In this video, we will cover three key areas of nonviolent restraint process. Those being the initiate, continue, and discontinuing restraints. In the clinical situation today, we will be discussing a patient that was recently intubated and continues to pull at the ET tube, besides frequent reminders and various other attempts to camouflage the lines. The nurse has consulted with the physician and has obtained an order via the phone to place the patient in restraints. Step 1, we will start the process by placing the initial order in OneChart. Please note, the order must be placed first prior to any documentation. Within OneChart, we will open the patient's chart, and from the left table of contents, we're going to select Add Order. We will type in Restraint and select the order for restraint for nonviolent behavior. Within the order, we will right-click on the mandatory fields and modify. Within the order details, the reason for restraint nonviolent behavior will automatically default to interfering with medical care devices. The restraints type would be soft limb. Next, we will click Initiate, Orders for Signature, and Sign. Now, let's take a moment to review the power plan. Over here in the left Orders View Navigator panel, we will click on the top section of the power plan. There are two sections. The first phase is the Initiate Monitor phase, and it has three individual orders. The first order is the Restraint Initiate order. This order must remain active for the entire restraint episode and is the order that triggers the patient's name to fall on the restraint report. Next is the restraint monitoring. This order must also remain active for the entire restraint episode and is the order that triggers the 2-hour tasking. Restraint evaluate need to continue. This order sends a message to the ordering physician's message center as a passive notification the patient is still in restraints. The second phase is the restraint continue phase. Upon initiation, this phase should remain in a planned state. This phase would be initiated on the next calendar day. This concludes the steps to place the initial restraint order. Now we will review the initial restraint documentation. All documentation should be completed via the task. For all users outside the ED, this is completed from the Care Compass task list. For ED, this is completed from the clipboard icon on the tracking board. Open the task list on Care Compass by clicking on the gray side arrow next to the patient name. Find the task Restraint Initiate Nonviolent Behavior. Click on the task and click Document. All restraint documentation should be completed via the task. This will open a grouping of documentation. The nurse should document every section and every field except the fields labeled violent. Let's take a moment to review the specific fields and an explanation of what should be documented in each field. The first field is Restraint Alternatives Nonviolent. This is documentation to account for what alternatives clinical staff attempted before resorting to the use of restraints. In our situation, we have used camouflaging the lines and tubes, and frequent reminders, reality orientation. The next section is restraint responses to alternatives. This field allows the nurse to document the patient's response. For our clinical situation, we will use the patient's behavior was unchanged. The next field is nonviolent behavior requiring restraint. There's only one option for nonviolent restraints, that being behavior interfering with medical care devices, tubes, and drains. The violent behavior requiring restraint, because it has violent, we will skip over that. The next field is restraint episode activity type. This field's purpose is to identify what phase of restraints the patient is in. So for the initial documentation, you would select Initiate Episode. This is one of the key documentation elements to truly define, based on the time column right here and this Initiate Episode, specifically when you place those patient in restraints. The restraint behavior description is our next field. This field gives the nurse the opportunity to choose other and document specifically of the patient scenario. The next section is restraint evaluation. In this section, a dynamic group label must be created for every point of restraint. For our patient today, we will create a label for the soft limb left upper and another label for a soft limb right upper. Within each of the limb labels, there must be documentation. You're going to do the evaluation of the status and restraints. This allows for documentation that the restraint was applied appropriately and no evidence of injury related to the restraints. This documentation will be duplicated for every limb restrained. The learning assessment should capture documentation of who and how education was given. After all the documentation has been completed, click the green check mark to sign the documentation. The third step in the initiation of nonviolent restraints is to ensure the plan of care for risk for injury is initiated and the goal of without injury while restraints in use is marked. Within the patient chart, to find the plans of care, click on Orders, and within the Orders Navigator view, under the Suggested Plans, Risk for Injury should be there under the Suggested Plans. Click Accept, then now within Ensure that Without Injury while Restraints in Use is marked. Click Orders for Signature, Sign, and refresh. Your plan of care has now been initiated with the appropriate goal of without injury while restraints in use. This concludes all the steps when initiating placing a patient in nonviolent restraints. Let's quickly review all of the steps of the initiate process for nonviolent restraints. First, place the order for restraint for nonviolent behavior. Second, do all documentation via the task. Document in every field excluding the fields labeled violent. And third, add risk for injury IPOC and ensure the goal of without injury while restraints in use is included.